This What's Working with Cam Marston podcast is brought to you courtesy of Michelob Ultra Beer.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What's Working. So happy to have you along for this show. We got a lot of good content coming here today on how to start a small business, how to start any sort of business. And I think you're going to like this. Our guest is going to be Mel Washington. Let me back up. Welcome to What's Working. Glad you're along. What's Working is the show designed to bring you the workplace, the workforce, and the marketplace trends, shaping the workplace, the workforce, and the marketplace around you. I try to find guests who, when I talk to them, will say something that you and I can adapt. We can put our arms around, take it into our own business, our own lives, our own worlds, and it will make each of us just a little bit better at whatever it is that we do. Again, welcome. Glad to have you. Mel Washington's been a friend of mine for a while. Mel is currently the Regional Director of Small Business Development Center at the University of South Alabama. He works with a lot of small business owners, entrepreneurs in the startup phase, and helping them launch their business successfully. He works them through the pitfalls. He tries to mitigate the risk that they may have. He teaches them of the hazards that may be ahead of them. And one of the suggestions that came through to us last year about show content is we have a lot of great interviews with business owners who have been in business for a while, some of which that have bought and sold several businesses in their background. But what we've never done is a show on exactly how to start up from very beginning, how to go from concept or idea into successful business. And that's what this show is going to be about. Mel has worked with dozens upon dozens of people who have gone through this process, many of which who have succeeded in their business beyond their own wildest dreams. And Mel has learned what the steps are along the way that are designed to get them there. So when we get Mel on the line here after this break, we'll begin talking about the value of the business plan, about what happens to most small businesses that fail and what are the reasons for their failure. We talk about the attitude and the mindset of the small business owner, and we even get a little bit into who is starting all these businesses. And you'll hear that it's quite surprising how many have begun small businesses since COVID. Gosh, we're still talking about the ramifications of COVID, and I think we will for a long time. COVID triggered a lot of things and a lot of people that made them want to control their own future. We'll learn a little bit more about that as we go along. One of the things that I'm going to begin this year is a little bit of tooting my own horn. This is something that I was really reluctant to do until I was admonished for it not long ago, and say things like, hey, for 25 years, I've been a keynote speaker and a workshop deliverer and things of that nature. My client list includes many Fortune 500 organizations, and I give a hell of a presentation, quite frankly. If you're interested in workplace trends, how to recruit and retain people, how to sell to people of different ages, of different generations, if your sales force is of a certain age and your clients of a different age, and you want to learn how to bridge that gap, that's what I've been doing for a long, long time. In fact, this week, I'll be in Tampa working with a group of life insurance agents on how to sell their product to the under 35-year-old buyer, because most of their salespeople are like me, 50 years old and older. So what do they need to know about that buyer to make a better connection? If you're interested in something like that, or recruiting trends or retention trends, one of the things that this show has done is given me a lot of really fresh, new content that's working when it comes to understanding the workplace, when it comes to understanding sales processes, et cetera. I take the content from the show, organize it into the presentation, bring the presentations to my audience. If you're looking for a keynote speaker or something like that sometime this year to give your office a boost, your event, a boost, a meeting, you need an outside speaker, do me a favor. Go to cammarston.com. Take a look at some of the work we've done. Take a look at the client list. Look at some of the topics that we've done. I think you'll find that there's a lot of good stuff out there, and we'd love to talk to you. Or find my YouTube page. There's a lot of speakers bureaus that are hijacking my name out there. Find the one that says official YouTube page of Cam Marston, where you can see some of the work and the videos, etc. All right. That's enough self-promotion. I really don't like the way that makes me feel, but I think it's appropriate, and why not? When we come back from break, Mel Washington will be with me, Regional Director, Small Business Development Center, University of South Alabama. We'll be right back.
When making the largest investment choice in most families' financial portfolio, you need a realtor who truly understands the market and can negotiate favorable terms and conditions. I'm Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, the preferred real estate advisor for buying or selling along the Gulf Coast. For full access to the MLS in Mobile, Baldwin County, Pensacola, Destin, or Panama City, just Google Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston on the line with Mel Washington. Mel is the Regional Director of the Small Business Development Center at the University of South Alabama. He provides one-on-one confidential counseling to entrepreneurs and small businesses in 6 counties in South Alabama. His bio is quite extensive. I'll get through it as we go along through the show. Mel, thank you so much for your time, and welcome to What's Working.
Thanks for having me.
You and I have interacted before. You've consulted with me a little bit on my business and the multiple brands that we have here. But the focus I want to make of this show is there's somebody out there listening who is wondering about becoming a small business owner. And it's not that they're looking at they don't know what product they do or will have or service that they'll have. They're looking at what are the first steps out of the gate to beginning their own business. And I want to start there with you, but before we do that, give us a little bit more of your background. The bio here is very extensive, but why don't you give us the thumbnail overview? I'll touch on it again as we go through. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Sure. Well, I'm a graduate of Howard University in Washington, D.C., where I got a bachelor's in electrical engineering. Upon graduation, I went to New York and I fulfilled my childhood dream of being an aerospace engineer. I worked in the aerospace field in New York for about 2.5 years. Went ahead and got my master's in business at New York University and joined a whole AT&T in an executive development program. And over the years, in addition to AT&T, I've worked with several companies in New York, including several of the top-notch Wall Street firms, and decided to make a transition back to Mobile almost 30 years later in 2011. And while in New York, I was actively involved in the nonprofit sector, serving on volunteer boards and doing some volunteer consulting, helping small businesses in New York. And I wanted to utilize my background and knowledge in economic development here in Mobile. And when I came to Mobile, I, through several introductions, was offered a position as the regional director of the Small Business Development Center. And as you probably know, the Small Business Development Centers, we call ourselves SBDC,
Yep.
are all under the direction of the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa. My region covers 6 counties in southwest Alabama, with most of the activity being from businesses in Baldwin County and Mobile County.
Your service is, well, first, I didn't know you had a background in electrical engineering. That's very impressive. Very similar to so many engineers that I know. They start out with that degree, but seem to go away from that degree as they get a more comprehensive skill set. That engineering degree seems to teach people like you how to think in unique ways, which and problem solve. And those problem-solving skills are then applied to different places in the business. That's pretty impressive. Your service that you offer small businesses in these 6 counties is free. Am I correct there?
It is free. We're the best deal going. Many people come to us, and they find us in a whole host of ways. Many doing searches, researching online. Many through referrals of people who have used us in the past. Many through referrals from banks and other sources. Often they don't know that it's free when they call.
No, that was my case.
Yes, we're free.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, the belief is by the University of Alabama or whoever is in control of all this, a small business being the backbone of the nation, the more small business we can get up and functional and profitable, the better it'll help all of it. It's kind of a rising tide raises all ships attitude, correct?
That is correct. One of the things I admitted, we are co-funded by the Small Business Administration.
Oh, okay.
So we are actually a line item in the federal government budget.
Very good. So, Mel, the show, as you may know, is broadcast across the state of Alabama. We're in 6 markets now, and there is somebody in the Huntsville market right now, somebody in the Montgomery market right now, and he or she has been wondering about starting a small business. They've got a product idea. They've got a service idea. They just don't know what to do. They know there are steps that are needed to take to get from I want to do this to doing it. And I'm wondering if we can discuss what those steps are and the decisions those budding entrepreneurs need to consider along the way. So pick it up there, if you will. I pretend like I'm a small business owner I'm not a small business owner yet. I have an idea. I want to begin to, I want to open the doors. I want to hang up a shingle, so to speak. What happens next?
Well, let me say this for your listeners in Huntsville and Montgomery. There is an SPD center at Alabama State University and one at the University of Alabama at Huntsville. So my first recommendation would be to contact the SPDC in their region. But once they've done that, in terms of taking that idea, and I deal with this every day, people come with an idea and they haven't really fleshed it out. They haven't done their homework with the research to determine whether or not there's truly a market for what they want to offer. Many entrepreneurs have the idea, and I use this all the time. If you build it, they will come.
Sure.
And in reality, that does not happen. So when you come to an SPDC, we're going to help you flesh that idea out, and you may find yourself going in a different direction than what you came in with. But once you've done that and done some homework, and we've looked at and assessed the target market, we start the process of doing a business plan. And a business plan is really kind of, I call it the roadmap for your future.
Yeah, and it's the details. It's the roadmap. It's the details.
It's the details. Absolutely correct. Right on through to doing a financial projection for the first 3 years of operation. Obviously, financial projections are a moving target because things can change overnight. But we start there. And the fact that you have a plan doesn't mean that the plan is dormant. You want to continue to go back, refresh, review your plan relative to where you are at that particular point in time.
Let's take a step back. You said you're going to flush out the business idea. Are there, Mel, a list of questions that you normally ask a budding entrepreneur to consider in the flush out process?
It all depends, Cam, on the type of business. I often say, go out and speak to your prospective customers. Do a survey. Find out whether or not what you're selling or what you're proposing to sell is something they're willing to pay for. And we call it in our space, we call it doing a business model canvas. And there is a lot written on business model canvases, and that's essentially the process, is finding out if there is interest in what you're doing and what you want to do. And I will sit with my my clients, and we'll develop a series of questions. And we go out, we ask you to go out and talk to 20, 30 people. Come back, and with that feedback, we will take the next steps. And hopefully the next step is to start that business plan.
So do you feel like this canvas process that you mentioned, my suspicion is there's a part of this that you encourage this budding business owner to do this so that they don't fail, so that they don't get too far down the road to realize that maybe this isn't that good of an idea. But I would suspect to the business owner, it may feel like you're trying to talk them out of it.
You're absolutely right. And I try to emphasize that I'm not trying to talk you out of it or downplay your enthusiasm for your idea. My main goal is to help you succeed. And that's what we're all about, helping businesses start and grow.
So the canvassing process, one question real quick, and then I want to get a little bit more into the business plan. The canvassing process, how many out of 100 people that come to you and you suggest the canvassing process, how many people survive that? How many people do actually go speak to 30 potential customers?
I would say most of them.
Oh, they do?
Oh, yeah.
So they've got the bit in their teeth. They're ready to go, and they'll
ready to go.
They'll do that work.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, in the past 3 years, we've been inundated with people coming, looking for help to start a business, and they're ready to go. They've either changing career or have what they think is a great idea.
So when you throw the 3-year number out, it makes me think this is somehow COVID inspired. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, partly, I would say in 2020, largely COVID inspired, but the numbers haven't gone down over the past 2 years. And I just think that there are people out there, particularly boomers, large number of women who are interested in starting their businesses. And in fact, if you look at the number of clients we served over the past year, over 50% of them were women.
Boomers, I could understand women, but the boomers surprises me. They would seem to be on the precipice of retirement, and taking on a new task like this would not be high on their priority list. Tell me, what is your hunch on why there's so many boomers doing it?
They don't want to. Yeah, they want something different than what they had. Many will come and say, well, I think I've learned enough. I want to take what I've learned and apply it
Mel,
in a way that
I got to interrupt you. We're going to go to break, and we'll pick it up right here. You're listening to What's Working. I got Mel Washington on the other line. We'll be right back.
I'm Paul Lewis, General Manager of Roy Lewis Construction. Many of our commercial buildings you drive by daily on both sides of the bay are the fruits of our client relationship since our beginning in the early 80s. It is our mission to bring value to our clients, from retrofits to ground-up construction and everything in between. We have more advocates than any of our competitors who have been in business twice as long. Same with repeat business, same with referrals. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com, and let's talk about your next commercial project.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I got Mel Washington on the other line. He's the Regional Director of Small Business Development Center, University of South Alabama, based here in Mobile, a remarkable background in electronic engineering, graduate of Howard University, MBA from NYU and Wharton School, Administration Executive Education Program at Wharton. And today he's available for free. Yep, I said that, for free, to help you build a business plan and get started. Mel, prior to the break, we were talking about my surprise of learning that there were so many baby boomers out there interested in starting their own businesses. You said, well, let's pick that up there. What is the motive behind the baby boomers? And then I want to get into the business plan. I promised that in the previous segment, and I want to get into it. So why the baby boomers?
Well, many want to have gotten to a point in their career where they want to change, and they're not quite ready to retire. They have probably from their previous field probably have retired, but they want to continue to do something and continue to make a difference. So, and to give back in different ways. And starting a business is one way of continuing to do that.
Yeah. And I guess at the point of life that the baby boomers are at when they're coming to you with their business plan, they have a Rolodex full of contacts. They have, would you suggest that, do you think that the boomers have an advantage just due to their years out there and the people that they know, that when they start a business, they've already got a pretty good client list in their head?
Sure. And one of the other advantages, to some extent, is that many of them are financially secure in a way that, the startup cost of a small business is not as daunting to them as it would be for millennials, as an example.
Sure. Yeah. So let's move now into the business plan. You've got this new budding entrepreneur, male, female, doesn't matter, boomer, millennial, doesn't matter. You've told them to go speak to 30 customers about their business idea and see if those customers, potential customers, if they'd be willing to consider a product or a service like this. And that individual has now come back to you and said, Mel, there seems to be an appetite for this idea that I have. What's next? Next is the business plan. Take me through beginning a business plan from ground zero for a budding entrepreneur.
Well, there are probably several formats for a business plan. Some are lean and short. The lean and short ones, I think, are much more conducive for if you are competing in a pitch competition, if you know what that means, where you're pitching your business to a live audience, a la Shark Tank, as an example.
Sure.
But most of them are what I consider the traditional business plan. And it covers all aspects of your business. And it starts with the basic format would have, as you would imagine a book, an executive summary. And then it goes in, after that, it goes into the details. But one of the questions that you had answered while interviewing these 20 or 30 people was you got acknowledgement that there is a problem out there that you're trying to solve with your business. So one of the things that first thing we address in the business plan is what problem are you solving? And then the second step is what's your solution to the problem? And then from there, we go through an explanation of your target market, who your competitors are, your marketing and sales plan, some information about your plans for the future beyond the first year of operation. I call it the roadmap. And then we get into more specific details on your operation. For example, what type of technology might you use, whether or not you're using an accounting software, whether or not you're using a customer relationship management system, a CRM system, on down to a bio on yourself. And you may ask why. I'll touch on that in a second.
Yeah.
Right on through what are the assumptions that you use in developing a financial forecast. The plan, keep in mind, the plan is not just, it's for you primarily.
Right.
But it's also for an audience. And that audience could be bankers who are looking to fund your business, or it could be investors who are looking to fund your business. I can assure you that if you are a startup, or even if you're an existing business, most banks will ask you for a business plan.
Right.
They're going to want to know how you plan to, a little bit about your business, how you plan to spend the money that you're requesting, and what type of cash flow is it going to generate in order to ensure that they're going to get a return on the loans.
Sure. So let me interrupt you right here. I want to play the contrarian a little bit and ask you to address this. I had a business coach, a couple, a male-female business coach, husband and wife, on the show several months ago. And one of the things that they said in their own coaching experience, as well as their own business background, is that seldom does a business end up doing what it came out of the gate intending to do. There is going to be a necessary pivot along the way where what you announce to the world, this is who I am and what I do, will necessarily have to change, because very few businesses actually end up doing what they actually began business to do. Do you have a comment on that?
I wouldn't say very few. I would say, well, yeah, there are businesses, many, that will pivot. But many of my clients that I've been working with for 5-6 years, that once they've started, they've stayed with it.
They've stayed with it.
I've had several that did pivot. And for a host of reasons. I mean, COVID would be one as an example.
Sure.
Knocked out a lot of businesses. But pivoting is something that we advise businesses. So you get further down the road and you see that your business is not scaling, and the resources that you have somewhat limited. But you're committed. You're an entrepreneur. You want to go forward, so you go forward with something different. But most startup entrepreneurs who, particularly in the tech space, they will pivot and go in a different direction after a year or so.
Do you feel that the pivot is an abandonment of the business plan? Is it given up?
Well, it's not. Obviously, if you pivot, you're going to have to change your business plan. So I wouldn't use the word abandonment, but it's taking your business idea and going in a different direction.
Do you feel if I were to spend, let's say, 40 hours on a business plan, that I have somewhat limited my thinking about what's possible for this business that I'm talking about? I've become so wed to this roadmap that I can't see opportunities that may come to me due to a myopic focus on an extraordinarily well-detailed business plan.
I think most entrepreneurs and small business owners are always looking for the next opportunity, ways in which they can scale and grow their business. So they're not being myopic at all. The business plan is not a document that's embedded in concrete. It is something it's a living document.
When you find these people who come to you and commit to the process, how long, and your role, if I'm not mistaken, is to kind of coach them on the business plan. You're not there to say, this is unreasonable, or you can't do this, or these numbers are too aggressive. Are you? Or is your job to coach them, support them, cheer for them?
Yes, all of the above. Plus, I play devil's advocate. I will spend a lot of time helping them write the business plan. Let me change that. I don't write it. I edit and comment on it, give them suggestions. And then the critical part of that business plan is that forecast. And then that's where I play devil's advocate. Some people are overly aggressive in their assumptions, thinking that they're going to make a lot of money in the first year. And I just kind of bring that back to reality and say that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I am coaching, I am prodding, I'm helping, and trying to focus them in what I consider in the development of a conservative but realistic business plan.
We got a minute before break, Mel. What if someone comes into your office and tells you what they want to do? What is a sign to you that he or she is committed to the process versus a sign that says, I don't think this person is in love with an idea, but not willing to do the work? What do you see in them? What is their behavior?
Yeah. If they've done homework, when they come in, they have an idea and they've already done considerable research on it. And I am bullish about helping them. Others, you have to go back and say, let's go out and come back with some information, and then we'll go through that business model process. But some of them will come in and just simply say, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And so I ask a series of questions, and if they can't answer those questions, then I tell them to go back and do some more homework.
Yeah, that's got to be a little disheartening to them, but I know you hope that they come back. If you're just joining us, Mel Washington's on the line with me, Regional Director, Small Business Development Center, University of South Alabama. We'll be right back. Customer service never goes out of style. In fact, I think it's safe to say that customer service is more valuable and more important now more than ever. Hi, this is Cam Marston. One thing that my over 200 episodes of What's Working has taught me is how important customer service is to building and maintaining a thriving business. It's the growing need for customer service that's led me to partner with one of the state's leading customer service trainers to create our program called Delivering 5-Star Customer Service. Your team will get one 90-minute training session per month for 6 consecutive months. Each session builds on the skills learned the previous month, allowing your customer-facing teams to practice before moving on to the next lesson. And the 6 lessons address everything from appearance to electronic communications to conflict resolution to maintaining a service mindset. Our program travels and is delivered in person at your workplace, nothing virtual. You simply can't practice the level of the skills this course teaches virtually. For more information, email me, cam@cammarston.com, and let's schedule a time to talk. Remember, you have less to fear from outside competition than you do from discourtesy and bad service from inside your own company. Again, email me, cam@cammarston.com, and let's talk about your business.
Is paying a real estate agent worth the money? I'm Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty. Great real estate agents are like the best doctors. They listen deeply, make your goals their own, stay current on trends that impact your decisions, and have experience navigating unexpected situations. We help our clients make the best real estate decisions along the Gulf Coast. Google me, Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection.
Mel Washington's on the line with me, Regional Director, Small Business Development Center, University of South Alabama. Mel, there is something I feel we may have overlooked in this conversation, and that is the legal component to starting a business. S Corp, LLC, all of these things have subtleties to them that if you've never waded down this path, you're unaware of. Give me an overview, if you would, of the different types of designations or classifications of a small business and what they may mean to the business owner.
Yeah. In the state of Alabama, I think there are 4 categories. 1, sole proprietorship. 2nd, limited liability company. 3rd, corporation. And then I think the 4th is nonprofits. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about the for-profit entity, which would be sole proprietor, LLC, and corporation. Many people, anybody can be a sole proprietor. Many people that come to us are thinking in terms of starting a sole proprietor, or they've already started a business and they are sole proprietors. And all that means is that you've gone to the city of Mobile or the county of Mobile or wherever your clients are and gotten a business license to start, let's just say, a cleaning service. And you start your business. There is a problem with simply being a sole proprietor, and that is that there is no protection. By that I mean your personal assets are at risk if you're ever sued. So in order to alleviate that risk to your business, I recommend to all of my clients to, at a minimum, be a limited liability company, an LLC.
An LLC.
Right. And to form an LLC means that you have to go to the Secretary of State's website or to the Secretary of State. You can do it on the website yourself. But several clients come to me and they will go to their attorneys and find an attorney. LegalZoom will do it for a fee. You can do it for yourself for substantially less by simply going to the Secretary of State's website. It's rather easy to navigate through, or you can ask the SBDC to help you navigate your way through it. So you can form an LLC. The cost is on your own. The cost is substantially less than if you were obviously using an attorney or a LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer or whomever. So that gives you that degree of protection. Okay. I call it a line demarcation between your personal assets and your business assets.
Sure.
Once you form that LLC, many small business owners, once they've gotten to a certain income level and are paying a certain amount of taxes, they will either decide to go become an S Corp or a C Corp. And that's an easy transition. You can actually start off as an S Corp or a C Corp, but the structures are different. In the case of a limited liability company, you don't need a board of directors. In the case of C Corp and S Corp, you need board of directors. The process of going through Secretary of State or getting a lawyer, that's relatively similar. Okay, but most clients, most small business are LLCs.
So an S Corp is a choice a business will make for tax purposes. Is that?
That is correct.
That's correct.
Primarily, yeah, correct.
Yeah, and would you suggest that most businesses, if I drive down the street of any retail corridor in any city in the state of Alabama, looking left and right at the retail buildings, are most of those S Corps? Was that your guess?
If you're talking about small businesses, no.
No. Most of them are sole proprietors?
Sole proprietors or LLCs.
That
would be my hunch.
That's your hunch.
Yeah.
So I think these designations are important, and if I understand you correctly, it is revenue-driven decisions. If you're making under a certain amount, you can be a sole proprietor or an LLC. After that, you'd be foolish to not transition into an S Corp or a C Corp.
Sure. And then also, depending on, you can be an LLC and be a single member LLC, which is only one owner, or you could be a multi-member LLC, which has multiple owners. And that structure, but although you are a multi-member LLC, you still, the owners, they will determine the various responsibilities, but there's no board of directors, there's no specific regulations, right, government regulations specific to them, as there are for C Corps and S Corps. So if you are a multi-member LLC, maybe that next transition may not necessarily be revenue related. It may be you want to, well, I guess it is revenue generated because you've gotten to a certain tax level, but you might want to at that point, convert to an S Corp.
Yeah.
And at that, and also set up a board of directors, issue shares, and so forth.
And I assume that once you're one or the other, you're not frozen in that. You can redesignate yourself with the help of the SBDC or whatever it may be.
Yes.
So you realize you want to change designations. It's a matter of paperwork to do so.
That is correct.
Let's your experience now. How long, Mel? I know it's in your bio, which is right here in front of me somewhere. But how long have you been with the Small Business Development Center?
A little over 9 years as a director.
You've got a rich history of seeing small businesses develop. You've got a rich history in seeing them launch and succeed and create a lifestyle for the people who have begun it. But I imagine in your background, you've seen those that fail as well. Tell me about the most common causes of failure in small business.
I think there are two, Cam. I referenced it a little bit earlier. Lack of startup capital and lack of a business plan. Those are the two primary. In addition to that, I think some fail because individuals come in starting a business not realizing just how hard it is to succeed as a small business. I tell them up front, it's 24/7. It's a job. It is. If you're looking to work for yourself because you're tired of working for someone else, be prepared to work 7 days a week, because that's what it takes to succeed. Now, you don't have, as your business grows and it becomes a lot more successful, and you build up some form of infrastructure support within your business, then you're not doing 24 hours and 7 days a week. But the starting up and getting through the first 2 years is a lot of work.
When someone submits their business plan to you and you see their projections for startup costs, is nearly every time do you look at them and say, that's low? That your startup costs are going to be greater than you can anticipate. Add 20% to that. And I can't tell you what it's going to cost, where that is coming from, but it's going to cost 20% more than what you think.
Usually it is too low.
Yeah.
And one of the failures that they come in with is they don't include in their startup costs a request for working capital. Okay. And that is, they've covered, rent, they've covered renovations of space and so forth. So once your business starts, don't assume that on day one or month one, you're going to meet all of your operating costs. So having that working capital, either in the form of a loan or just cash sitting in an account or a line of credit, will give you the flexibility to survive those first couple of months as your business begins to scale up.
Is there a multiplier that you recommend to estimate what the working capital will be? If you project your first month expenses to be blank, you need to have working capital of blank times 2, blank times 1.5.
Yeah, I would say probably usually it's anywhere 25 to 50% more than what your operating expenses are for that.
Yeah. And so the other one we're coming towards the close of the show, the other one is the lack of a business plan. And my suspicion is the lack of a business plan means that somebody gets to some point and says, I don't know what to do. I don't have a plan for what to do. The business plan alleviates that.
True, and calling the SBDC will alleviate that as well. Because, once you start with the SBDC, Cam, you're always a client of the SBDC. You can always come back. In fact, myself and many of my colleagues across the state, we will pick up the phone. You haven't heard from me in 3 months. How's it going?
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful. Mel, we're coming towards the end of the show. There are people out there in Mobile, where you and I are located. There are people, as I said, across the state who have a hunch that they are suited for small business. How do they find you? How do they find more information about what the SBDC offers?
They can go to asbdc.org. That's our website, hosted at the University of Alabama. And there's a link there that, depending on what part of the state you're in, you can click on that link and connect with an office in your geographic area.
Very good. And they'll find you in there. If they're in Mobile, they'll be able to connect to you there as well. Right.
You'll see pictures of myself and the people here in Mobile. If you're in Huntsville, you'll see the same thing.
Excellent.
Pictures of the director and the people there in Huntsville.
Mel, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. Folks, Mel Washington, Regional Director, Small Business Development Center, University of South Alabama. He's one of many across the state. We'll be back after this with segment 5.
At Roy Lewis Construction, we're in the business of adding value. Whether it's working with you to meet your unique business needs or making investments in our community in lasting ways, providing unparalleled value and quality in every commercial construction project. When planning your next commercial project, reach out to Roy Lewis Construction. We'll pair you with a designer that best suits your project needs and work with that designer to balance the best architectural outcome with the best budget outcome. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com, building legacies one relationship at a time.
Big thanks to Mel Washington for making that time for me. We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working, featuring Mel Washington this week as a guest in the about the bones, the basics, the startups of a business. And I couldn't help but ask myself throughout this, what would I do if 25 years ago I would have started my business differently? I suppose, lucky that my business has succeeded over these 25 years, considering Mel shared with me about 60% of small businesses fail. What was the recipe of success that I had? What made me part of the 40%, and what keeps it going? And I'll be honest with you, Mel and I have sat down a number of times to try to get me to really dig deep and create a very detailed business plan for my business right now. It's hard. My brain doesn't like to think that way, and projections and numbers and data. Mel, being an electrical engineer, it comes easy to him, but to me, I'm more on the creative side. And this is, Mel will roll his eyes when he hears this. When he says, Cam, how do you know your business is doing well? I say, well, I can feel it. I can feel it. I don't need to look at the P&L every minute to know that whether it's doing well or not. I just have a sense of things going well. The sales never ends. I don't think for any business, sales never ends. So as long as I'm selling and making these sales and I can kind of feel that things are going well. Now, could it be that my business would have been much more further along than it is right now, had I had a business plan to refer to, had I had a business plan to guide me? It very possibly could be so. However, the way I work, sitting down and putting that stuff together, and I've tried a couple of times, is just, man, it's hard. And Mel has been more than helpful to help me get it started, doing more than well he should have to help me get it started. And still, it's floundering. It's out there in the internet somewhere. I know I could return to it and update it if I needed it to, but it's very difficult. And again, go back to what I said as we started this segment. I wonder how things would be different had I had the discipline and the wherewithal to begin this business 25 years ago with a business plan and a solid dream for what I was going to do, rather than, I think I've got an idea. I wonder if anybody will buy it. Let's start a business to test it out. That's probably putting the cart before the horse. As this show, as What's Working producer John Thompson often accuses me of, is, Cam, you're kind of ready, fire, aim. You get an idea, you execute the idea, and then you really don't realize that maybe you should have thought about the idea a little while. And he's all right on that. Anyway, you've not noticed it, but we've used some new technology in this show. Some things that we're going to do to help formalize the show, to make the breaks all fixed amounts. I know these things don't interest you as much as they do me, but it will allow the show to move on to new markets, allows me to do more things with the show if the breaks are the same every show that we do. And that's the goal with the new technology that, again, you're not hearing, but I am, that is helping me formalize and standardize the show. Additionally, trying to get this thing into video format. Hard to find a good podcast or radio show that does not have a video component these days. And I'm learning it's not as simple as turning the Zoom on. In order to get the quality we need, we've got to find we got to continue to do our research to get what we need there. But hopefully before too long, you'll be able to find this show broadcast on the radio. Secondly, as a podcast, and thirdly, as a YouTube video. Still working on that type of thing. And it presents, as a YouTube video, new things to sell if it blossoms the way I see it blossoming. Keep up with us, folks. It's very exciting around here right now. You can find what'sworkingcam.com, where you'll find this show, as well as the previous ones. CamMarston.com contains all the information on me and the presentation business that I mentioned in the opening segment. There you'll find YouTube links to the different videos that I have showing the speeches and the client lists and things like that, and I hope you'll find time to take a look. Follow us on social media. The show is produced by John Thompson with Ion Digital. Have a good week, everybody. Hope something wonderful happens in your business this week.